Hello and welcome to Rathods Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 3rd November 2024. And actually today is Sunday. There are very less articles which are relevant from your examination point of view. And we are going to see around 5 articles in this class. Okay, so see this first article, guys. So see the title of this article and read it once. Implement universal pension scheme as in Jharkhand, Kalpana Soren tells Center. So what is the keyword that you have to identify here? Universal pension scheme. So what is the meaning of this universal pension scheme? So what do you know about this? Any idea regarding this universal pension scheme? Recently, tell me which kind of scheme which is seen in news regarding pension. National pension scheme, old pension scheme, and one more thing is unified pension scheme. Okay, is that unified pension scheme and universal pension scheme is same? Universal and unified. So actually this universal pension scheme is very much different compared to that of unified pension scheme. So if you are getting any question, don't get confused. So there is a high tendency of getting confused by these two names because they start with letter U. Okay, so let me tell you the keywords. So keyword here is universal pension scheme. So from which subject you will be seeing this? From GS paper 2 under governance. Next. From GS paper 2 under society. Next. Yes. From GS paper 3 under economy. Next. Next. Any other subjects can we connect here? Okay, so what are the dimensions you have to see? You have to see about what is this meaning of universal pension scheme, and actually it is implemented in state of Jharkhand. So why Jharkhand state government implemented this universal pension scheme? And you have to see what are the features of this universal pension scheme. So there may be a high chance of getting question regarding this features of this universal pension scheme, and you have to focus on this, and it is implemented in state of Jharkhand. So whenever you are writing any answer regarding this pension scheme in your mains, try to include this point of universal pension scheme of Jharkhand. Why can't we implement throughout our country? Okay, and you have to see what are the challenges of this universal pension scheme. Okay, so if you cover these points, you can cover both your prelims and as well as means. So let us see the context. Context says that Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, so it is one of the political party in Jharkhand, and leader is Kalpana Soren. So asked central government to implement a universal pension scheme which is similar to that of Jharkhand throughout our country. So actually under the scheme, so they will provide monthly 1000 rupees to 27 lakh beneficiaries. So they are giving 1000 rupees per month under this scheme. So you have to know what are the key features of this scheme. So this key feature is, it is now under this scheme, especially old people who are above 60 years of age, they will be getting benefit of this pension. But one condition is, so that person should not be a taxpayer. Okay, so if they are not a taxpayer and if they are above 60 years of age, they will be getting pension of monthly 1000 rupees. Not only old people but even poor, disabled, destitute, including widows, single, abandoned women, all are covered under this scheme, and everyone will be getting 1000 rupees per month directly to their bank account. And government, that is Jharkhand state government, which had made a provision of 1000 crore rupees under this universal pension scheme. And which department is implementing this? It is very important. That is Women, Child Development and Social Security Department of Jharkhand government is implementing this scheme. And say this next article. India committed to Sendai framework for risk reduction. So have you heard this word Sendai framework anywhere? Okay, where it is related to? disaster management. So why we have to follow the Sendai framework? So tell me what is the Sendai framework is about? Hmm? What is the Sendai framework is about? Disaster risk reduction. Why we have to follow the Sendai framework? What are there in the Sendai framework? So on which areas it is focusing? Please tell me at least that thing. Uh, Tell me. So on which areas the Sendai framework is focusing on? It will be focusing on four important areas. No idea? Yes or no? Okay, tell me what is the keyword? Keyword is Sendai framework. So from which subject we can say this? GS paper 3 under disaster management. Only disaster management or any other subject can we connect with? Okay, from GS paper 3, environment and ecology. Next, from GS paper 2 under international relations. So what are the dimensions you have to say is, first of all, why it is in news now. So why this article is saying that India is committed to the Sendai framework. So how we are committing towards the Sendai framework? So why that announcement had been made? So if you know why that announcement had been made, then you can write a simple introduction if you are getting any question regarding the Sendai framework for next 2 to 3 years. Okay, first you have to know context, why it is in use, and you have to see in which organization this statement had been made now, and you have to see what does the Sendai framework is about, and you have to see in which areas it is focusing, and you have to see what is significance. If any country is following the Sendai framework, how they can reduce these disasters, and why especially India needs to follow this. So why India needs to follow the Sendai framework, guys? Yes, because of increasing of risk of disasters in our country. So which kind of disasters are happening in our country now? Floods, next. Landslides, glacial melting, okay, next. Okay, cloudburst, only that thing. Earthquakes, next heat waves, next droughts, mm. Wildfires, next recent cyclone name, Dana, next. In which area? Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal? Bay of Bengal. Okay, so because of increasing of risk which is associated with this climate change, we need to follow the Sendai frameworks for disaster risk reduction. So now let us see who said this statement. So India is reaffirming its commitment to Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction as stated by PK Mishra at G20 ministerial meet in Brazil. So in Brazil, in ministerial meet, one of our delegate, he said that yes, we are committed to this Sendai framework. And especially in that meet, he focused on three important things. So he said that yes, we are committed to the Sendai framework, but we are having some challenges. Those challenges are nothing but we need international cooperation, sharing of technology or technology transfer, and as well as we need sustainable development to boost our disaster resilience. If we are meeting this, and obviously India can be running towards this achievement of the Sendai framework so that we can decrease this disaster reduction in our country. So these are the things which mainly said. And you can make a note of this G20 ministerial meet in Brazil. In this meet, our delegate said about this statement. And you can use for next 2 to 3 years when you're writing your answers in your means. It is very important. And this meeting resulted in the first ministerial meet on disaster risk reduction. So this is also a very important point. So you can also write like in the first ministerial meet of G20 which focused on disaster risk reduction, we committed towards Sendai framework of disaster risk reduction. So in this way also you can write your introduction based on the relevant current affairs so that you can enhance your writing skills. And the key important details you have to focus here is, yes, India is focusing on strengthening of global networks. So especially we are taking some collective action in disaster risk reduction. So whenever we are taking proper steps to reduce this disaster, obviously we can focus on more effective responses towards this global challenges. And even India is also showing some proactive leadership. So in this kind of G20 summit or ministerial meet, whenever we are raising this kind of issues, obviously we will be showing our proactive leadership. And India is the leader of global south, and this global south constitutes developed or developing countries, developing and less developed countries. So whenever any climate change is happening, so which countries are going to be affected badly? Either developed or developing or developed, least less developed. This will be obviously less developed, and developing countries, they will be get affected due to this disaster. So India is taking a proactive role in this global south, so that we are becoming a leader in global disaster management, and we are taking part in influencing of policies, and as well as we are focusing on especially prioritizing of disaster resilience as a leader of global south now. And next one here is we are also taking a proactive approach to resilience as well. So especially India is focusing on 5 priority areas. So you have to focus on that. First one is technology transfer. Next one is we need proper infrastructure. And next one is community engagement and as well as disaster preparedness. And after once disaster had occurred, we have to focus on reconstruction and recovery. So on these 5 important things, we are especially focusing on. And next important point which is given in this article is, yes, technology transfer is a key factor now. So especially in this ministerial meet, India focused on technology transfer. So especially developed countries, they have to transfer the technology so that we will be preparing properly to the disaster. For example, China came up with this concept called as sponge cities to absorb more amount of water. That will be helpful for addressing this urban flooding, etc. So like that, Japan is using some technology of earthquake resilient buildings. So here we can carry that technology now, and we can implement that in the vulnerable areas of our country. So every region is not vulnerable to, equally to the different kind of disasters. For example, Himalayan region, it is very much vulnerable to these earthquakes because of plate movements. And if you see the central part, Deccan part, we will be not having any earthquakes here. It comes under zone 2. But if you see the coastal areas, they will be obviously affected because of cyclones or floods. So we need to get the technology which other countries are using effectively in certain regions which are vulnerable in our country. So that is the thing which mainly focused about by our delegate. And next one here is, he also said that we need regional cooperation as well. So not only international cooperation is important, but even between the states is also very important. For example, if any cyclone which had been originated in Bay of Bengal, which are the coastal states will be affected if there is any cyclone in Bay of Bengal? Odisha, AP, West Bengal, yeah, Tamil Nadu. So these kind of coastal areas, they are getting affected. So here what happens? So if, why we need regional cooperation? Because so whenever any cyclone had been originated here, so it will be moving towards west and northwest, and it will be moving in this direction, right? So because of this, all these coastal regions, they need to have well cooperated or coordinated so that they can address this kind of disaster. And next important one is we have to even focus on sustainable development as well. So whenever we are properly aligning with the Sendai framework, obviously we can focus on disaster resilience or disaster risk reduction. So it will be helpful for even addressing of our sustainable development goals. If any state which is having this kind of disaster, can it achieve the sustainable development goals like decreasing of hunger, decreasing of poverty? No. So whenever disaster is directly related to the sustainable development goals, so if you want to achieve them by 2030, we have to focus on disaster risk reduction. Everything is interconnected. And next one here is, yes, if you want to focus on disaster risk reduction, first we have to focus on early warning system. So can you tell me some example of early warning systems recently which are in news? Huh? Okay, so I want about recent technology that you are incorporating for efficient early warning systems. I think 10 to 15 days back we discussed that. Hmm? Which is that mobile app? Huh? E-gram Swaraj, next. Meri Panchayat, okay, next. Come on, you have to revise current affairs. Okay, so here you have to know about recent technologies that we are using. Even we are going to have coordination with ISRO, right? Yes or no? What is that about? Uh, come on. Uh, that only. Recently we discussed, I think so. How many days ago? Uh, what is that? Huh? See this after this class. Mission Mausam. Okay, Mission Mausam is also about early warning. Next. So recently we discussed, like we are collaborating with ISRO for better early warning system. So see that. So here we are going to see about this Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. So actually this framework which talks about between this 2015 to 2030. So what are the steps that countries need to take to reduce these disasters? So it is an international document, and this document had been adopted by United Nations member states at Third World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction, which held in this Sendai, which is located in Japan. So because of this document name, which got from the place they had been adopted, that is Sendai framework. So it is applicable till 2030, guys. Okay, it is very, very important. Whenever you're writing any answer regarding how to reduce this impact of disaster, you have to include this Sendai framework for sure. Okay, and actually so this Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction has been endorsed by United Nations General Assembly in year 2015, and it is the agreement to this, it is one of the successor agreement to this Hugo framework action. It had been in year 2005 to 2015. After this we got this 2015 to 2013, that is Sendai framework. And actually it is including other agreements like Paris Agreement on Climate Change. What is this Paris Climate Agreement? We have to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. And next one is, it is also including Addis Ababa action, which is focusing on financing for development, like financing of funds from the developed countries to the developing countries for their disaster resilience. And this one is, they're also including this new urban agenda, and as well as including sustainable development goals. So all these four are included in this 2030 agenda. So let us see like in which areas they are focusing. So first one is, they are giving priority for understanding disaster risk. So for example, if earthquake happens, so what will be the risk? For example, if cyclone happens, so what will be the negative impact? Or for example, landslide happen, what will be the negative impacts? First one is, we have to understand the disaster risk. This is the first priority area. And next one is, we have to strengthen our disaster risk governance as well. So whenever we are improving our disaster risk governance, we can easily manage our disaster response. So can you tell me examples of disaster risk governance in our country? NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, we have State Disaster Management Authority, and we have Disaster Fund, and we have Force. Next. So recently this State Disaster Response Force in news. Why? Come on, recall your memory. Why this SDRF is in news? Hmm? Yes, it was not introduced, and we want to introduce that in all the states. So because of this, SDRF is in news. Very good. Okay, and the third important point is investing in disaster reduction for resilience. And next one here is, we have to enhance our preparedness for effective response. And we are focusing on especially recovery, rehabilitation, as well as reconstruction. So they comes under post-disaster steps in your disaster management cycle. So all these are the four important targeted or priority areas under the Sendai framework. So you may get 10 marker question on the Sendai framework. So they will ask you, simply write a note on Sendai framework. Okay, you have to write all these points, and even there is a high chance of getting your prelims question on this also. So see this next article. New scheme by ICMR seeks to foster novel ideas to develop health sector. So what is this ICMR? Indian Council for Medical Research. So what is the aims and objectives of this ICMR? What are the aims and objectives? What it will do? Okay, research in medical areas. Next, funding. Next, identification of new disease and giving updates. Okay, so actually this article is saying that ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, announced a new initiative, and please make a note of this initiative. First in the world challenge. First in the world challenge, and it is focusing on especially formulation, coordination, promotion of biomedical research. Okay, so here you may get a question here prelims. First in the world challenge is recently news is related to, or it is an initiative of which of the following organization. They may give ABCD 4 options: ICMR, World Bank, WHO, like that. So this first in the world challenge is by ICMR, and important aim is focusing on biomedical research. Okay, so it is just a prelims based fact. Okay, next article. Glacial lakes rise as glaciers retreat. So what is this article talking about? What is the meaning of glacial retreat? What is the meaning of this word glacial retreat? Retreat. Ah, many a times are discussed in our analysis, guys. Glacial retreat. So for example, let us take this is a glacier. Oh, white color, no? Ice. So this entirely glacier. Now there is less amount of ice. So melting of glacier is called as glacial retreat. Melting of glaciers is called as glacial retreat. So what happens because of glacial retreat? Sea level increases. Next, what is the disaster that you can expect? What is the name of flood? Glacial Lake Outburst Flood, GLOF. Glacial Lake Outburst Floods. So is that good? Is that good? Yes? Huh? Oh, no? Okay, so what happens because of this glacial lake outburst floods? What happens? Yeah, infrastructure damage. So can you give me some example of recent glacial lake outburst flood which is in news? Uttarakhand only. Tell me example. So which dam got been affected? You know, tell me. Vishnugad, Tapovan power project had been got affected because of this recent glacial lake outburst flood. Yes. Okay. So here, what are the dimensions you have to see is, first of all, what is this glacial lake outburst flood? And you have to see what are the reasons for this flood and what will be the impact of this flood, and you have to see what are the measures can be taken. Okay, so let us see this article. So glacial lakes are forming as glaciers retreat due to global warming. So because of increasing of global warming, that is increasing of temperature, melting of glaciers is happening. So because of that, there is increasing of number of glacial lakes. So because of increasing of number of glacial lakes, there is also increased potential hazards for the communities who are present in the downstream. So especially if you see here we have glacier, and if we are having any human settlements nearby, for example here we have a lake. Suddenly what happened? So what are the sediments that is guarding this lake? If it has been bursted, means what happened? Suddenly water will be rushing out of this lake and will be causing flooding in these settlements, right? So here one more thing you have to remember is, what is this moraine? Have you heard this word moraine? Accidentally, unfortunately. What is moraine? It is not marine, it is marine. Accidentally, unfortunately, anywhere in your geography. What is this marine? So, have you gone through this chapter, landforms formed by glaciers? Landforms by these glaciers. Have you read this topic? In landforms, we have two types of landforms, right? Depositional, and next one is erosional landform. Okay, so I'll give you one hint. Moraine is one of the depositional feature of this glacier. Now tell me what is moraine. Yes, what whenever the glaciers are moving, it will be bringing sediments and it is forming a like this, right? So whenever glacier it is moving, it will be bringing sediments and that sediment will be forming a small hill-like thing that is called as moraines. So why these moraines are related to this glacial retreat or so whenever if you see any lake, so this lake is guarded by some wall-like thing, right? So these glacial lakes are guarded by these moraines. So whenever the breaking of moraines will happen, that will leads to this glacial lake outburst flood. Understood? Okay. So actually, this article is saying that glaciers are not static. So there will be increasing of amount of water in these lakes. Whenever there is melting of glaciers, more amount of water will be getting and settle in this depressions that cause increasing of number of glacial lakes. Okay, and sometimes we can see if you see normal lakes during summer season because of high rate of evaporation, the water in the lakes will be get reduced. During monsoon season or rainy season again, the water will be collected in the lakes. So it is a normal phenomena. So in the same way here, whatever the glaciers are there, they are also not static because of increasing of global temperature melting will happen. So whenever there is decreasing of global warming or like whenever we are seeing like winter season like that, obviously again the snowfall and ice will be get collected, right? So here it is a very dynamic process which creates a condition for the formation of the glacial lakes easily because of this glacial retreat. And because of impact of this climate change also, there is changes that we can see in this natural landscapes. So here this article is saying that yes, because of glacial melting, the depressions, they leave, they can become lakes and they will be often dammed by or guarded by these moraines. Moraines are depositional feature of landforms which formed by these glaciers. So this natural damming can create hydrological buffers. So what happens whenever these natural dams which are formed by these moraines, if they fails, if they broke, then what happens? The water will be gushing out very fastly and that will cause us floods. Okay, so if you see these glacial lakes, what will be the color of these lakes? Have you observed? Ah. So if you go through any reels or like that, some tourists, they will be going this kind of places, right? Ah, blue color. So what is the blue color? Why we can see like water is in blue color? So really water will be in blue color. Then what? Then what leads to this blue color of water? Reflection of sky. Okay, next. Only the reflection of sky is the reason for this blue color. If you see globe, why it is in blue color? See globe, water is in blue color. Why? Land is in other color. Uh, so because of sediments, whatever there, so that is also one important reason for the reflection of color. So here, the striking blue color of this glacial lake is result of fine sediment in the water, which illustrates about the unique beauty of the formations while it serves as a maker of glacial activity and health. So based on the color of this lakes also we can identify the health of that so and so lake. So if it is having the fine sediments of blue color, it is like a very good health. And here one more important point which is highlighted in this article is there is rising of lakes and as well as risk. So especially they gave one example, South Luhansk Lake. So I want to give you one work guys. So at least open your atlas and see where is this Luhansk Lake is located. So actually this Luhansk Lake is affected badly because of this climate change and glacial retreat. Okay, so here, because of this increasing of water in this Luhansk lake, now there is a threat of breaking of this moraines. So it may cause glacial lake outburst flood. So here this article is saying that we need to monitor this lake and we have to manage the lake so that we can prevent the disasters. So if you are writing about any disaster regarding this glacial retreat, you have to write this example and you have to draw a map and you have to show exactly where is that lake is located. Okay, it is one of the key value addition from this article to your answers. And next important point here is, yes, because of this breaking of moraine barriers that can unleash massive water flows. So it is one of the exemplified and recent South Lohang Lake incident which caused widespread destruction which happened in the downstream. So here this article is saying that because of ongoing studies, because of the data, it is now very important to focus on the scientific research so that we can focus on the disaster preparedness and we can understand how these glacial systems are there in our country, how we can properly manage them. And finally, this article is saying that we need to have a proper monitoring as well so that we can go for disaster mitigation and we can help these local communities to prevent this disaster, etc. And say this article, WHO database on polio cases hides more than it reveals. So why polio is in news and what is the cause of concern now? In Meghalaya, which kind of polio case had been identified? Injection. Tell me, what is that injection? It is not exactly injection. Which kind of polio had been discovered in Meghalaya? Ah, what is that disease called? Vaccine derived polio. After taking vaccine, they got polio. It is called as vaccine derived polio, type 1 case. Huh? So this article is important from your GS paper 3 under science and technology. You have to know about diseases. So how many types of diseases are there? What are they? Communicable and non-communicable. What is communicable? Diseases that can be transmitted from one person to another person through communication. Okay, non-communicable disorder, if even if you are going and communicating with the people like talking, hugging, sharing things, so there will be no transfer of diseases. So tell me the examples of non-communicable and communicable disease. COVID, communicable or non-communicable? Communicable. Next, only COVID. Everyone knows about this COVID, other diseases. Fever, cold, or signs and symptoms start the disease. Next, non-communicable disease example. Diarrhea is a communicable disease. Next. Do you know this Igalu Domalu? Because of them only. Next. Not communicable disease. Diabetes, hypertension, TB is also communicable. I am asking non-communicable, no. So if you are having any liver disease, heart disease, or any kidney disease, or hypertension, diabetes, like that, they will be comes under this category of non-communicable. They will be not transferring. Huh? Headache is not a disease, it is either sign or a symptom of any disease. So there will be a lot of difference between headache and a disease. So see here, the problem here is about WHO database. So again, this article which gives you insights regarding how these international organizations are functioning. So actually there is a recent allegation that international organizations are not working efficiently to the mark. So one more example which says there is decreasing of relevance of WHO is because of this polio disease which had been identified in Meghalaya. So after this COVID-19 once entered into our life, then the first time the allegation made on WHO that it was failed. And the second time here is now WHO database on polio cases, they are failing to report all categories of vaccine derived polio virus sufficiently, immune deficiency associated and ambiguous PD. So actually in this vaccine derived also we are having different types of polio. But now Here WHO database is not giving the proper information regarding this polio cases. Because of this is the news. And one more issue here is there is lack of transparency. What is the meaning of transparency? Openness. So actually WHO is not giving data open to all. So this is also an important problem here. So what happens if there is lack of transparency in this WHO? Which trust? Okay, public trust will be getting deteriorated. Next, what are the problems of lack of transparency, guys? So what happens, can we ensure that there will be stopping of transmission of this disease? No, right? So if you're getting proper information from this WHO, then only we can take some steps to prevent this. So here this is also an important problem, that there is lack of transparency. Because of that we are not able to take proper steps to control the risk of this vaccine derived polio disease now. Okay, let us see some key facts which are given here. So WHO registry excludes the critical different categories of polio. So it is saying only the types of polio, but after taking this vaccine also, there is a chance of getting vaccine derived polio, but it is ignoring this criteria of this vaccine derived polio. It is one of the important problem now. So if you are not including this data, so can we ensure that fullness of data which is maintained by this WHO? No. Because of this, what happened? Epidemiological studies will be getting failed, and even we can't maintain effective proactive strategies to control this disease in the future. And next one here is there is also lack of openness, that is transparency issues. So there is lack of real-time data sharing regarding these diseases. So we need increased accountability and as well as openness from WHO now. And next one here is, if data is not provided, what happens? Ultimately leads to increasing of this public health risk. And even, yes, if the WHO is giving this kind of disease, especially developing countries and least developed countries, you are dependent on this vaccines to control disease, right? So if this kind of diseases which are caused by taking vaccines, if WHO is not giving information, that will be leading to the great damage to the developing countries and less developed countries. So we need to have a proper careful management of this vaccine strategies as well. And we need to maintain proper registries regarding data collection as well as reporting, etc., so that we can understand the response to this polio diseases. And we need a proper tracking as well, okay, so that we can make some effective public health interventions and access vaccine strategies. So that's the thing. Okay, so these are the important articles that appeared in our today's Hindu newspaper. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching, and if you like this class, please hit the like button, and please do share this class to your friends, and do subscribe to Rathods Academy. And thank you so much.